This is a quality sleep system setup that includes tent, sleeping bag, and sleeping pad, all weighing about 6 pounds, and it's under $300.
Hooray!
Hey y'all, my name is Adam and this is Dad Camps, and I like to talk about getting outside with my kids and all the gear that goes with it. If you like those things too, make sure to hit subscribe and check out some of the other videos on my channel. But for now, let's dive in. First up, we got the Winterial one-person Bivy Tent. This is typically between $89 to $99. You can find it on sale on Amazon right now for $89. I'll put the link in the description below so you can check that out. But I also have a full other video on this. I'll put a card up on reviewing this tent, and I've had this for a few years now. It's held up really well. Extremely good beginner budget friendly backpacking tent. Okay, for sleeping pad, I've got the Klymit Static V sleeping pad. I've also had this for a few years now and it has held up really well. I've had no issues with it whatsoever. It's very comfortable for such a cheap, I should say inexpensive sleeping pad, and lightweight, decent R value. And there's a number of options you can look into as far as if you want to get a higher R value versus the lightest weight, cheapest one possible. And I'll share some of the specs on the screen here, but I use the insulated Static V Light, which is 20 ounces and a 4.4 R value, but you can go even lighter if you're willing to get the lower R value. All right, for sleeping bag, I've got the Marmot Trestles Elite Eco, and this is the 20 bag. I also have the 0 degree bag, and they offer a 30 degree bag, which I think is ideal for this kind of setup if you want to go very lightweight and as cheap as possible. This is a synthetic sleeping bag, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on the differences between synthetic and down, but I've been super happy with the sleeping bag. I have another video on these if you want to check that out. I'll put a card up, and I compare the 0 degree with the 20 degree bag and kind of talk about these a little bit more in depth. All right, well, let's set these up and I'll give you a quick view of them. All right, now for the sleeping pad. This thing obviously holds up really flat, super lightweight. Let's go ahead and blow this thing up. It has a valve right here that I really like, where you can flip it and go into deflate mode or inflate mode. And when you blow in there or you put your pump on it, nothing comes out. So let's go ahead and blow this thing up. There we go. So I'll give you a look at this ribbing. It's actually really comfortable. I like the way that this is formed, and it's got these little bubbles on the side which seem to help with feeling like you're rolling off the mattress. I never feel like I have a problem staying on this one. And I like the V shape here. It seems to be nice for rolling on your side. I'm a side sleeper. And so to me, this mattress has been super comfortable. Never had any problems sleeping on this thing. All right, let's throw it in there. Last but not least, I've got my Marmot sleeping bag. And like I said, I have a whole other video on this, so I'm not gonna go too in depth on the review of this bag, but I've been super happy with it. And it is synthetic versus down, but honestly, I know that synthetic gets a bad rap these days, but the technology has gotten so much better that it is comparable to down. And while you are never gonna beat the warmth to weight ratio of a down sleeping bag, it is a lot more expensive. And so if you're looking for a warmer weather alternative, this will do perfectly fine. And I also have the 0 degree version of this and have had it down into single digits, and I've been totally warm and happy in that sleeping bag. The other nice thing about synthetic is that if it gets wet, like if your foot box touches the end of the tent or something like that and it gets wet, always remember, wet down goes down. Synthetic, that's not the case. Even if synthetic gets wet, it's still going to offer some warmth. It's still going to offer some protection from the temperature for you, compared to wet down is going to help you very little, if at all. So that's definitely a benefit to having a synthetic bag. On top of that, it's cheaper. So if you're looking for a more budget-friendly alternative, definitely don't be afraid of getting a down sleeping bag. All right, so let's throw this in. Okay, here comes the sleeping bag. All right, as my son is inside modeling the coziness of this setup, I'll show you a little bit closer look here. All right, so if you take a look right down below here, there's a button with a thumbs up. If you could push that real quick, that would help me out a lot and help this video get out to more people. Appreciate it. Now, this Winterial one-person Bivy tent is definitely a true one-person tent, and it's meant to be a little bit bigger than a bivy, but smaller than a tent. It definitely is meant to be lightweight and functional versus comfortable. It will protect you from the weather. And obviously this is without the rainfly setup. If you want to see the whole rainfly setup, you can check out my other video, which I'll link in the description. But I've been super happy with this tent. I've had it for 4 or 5 years now, and it has held up really well. It's gotten a few little scratches here and there. I don't know if you can see that, but little holes in the mesh there. It's taken a little bit of abuse on many different backpacking trips and hunting trips and whatnot. But overall, not had any problems with the seams opening, no problems with the waterproofing, no problems with the guy outs and all that stuff. The tent stake, the tent poles, everything has been solid. So I've been very impressed with this tent for the value at $89. I don't think you're gonna find a better lightweight tent option than this, and it's a fantastic option for beginners. All right, so I have to be a little bit honest. I clickbaited you a little bit, and the models that I have here are not quite what I promised of the 6 pounds under $300. I'll put the specs up on the screen here. This is my setup currently. This is the 20-degree bag and the insulated Static V light. So those are slightly more expensive and slightly heavier than the models that you would need to get down under that 6 pound and $300 price point, but it's doable. If you're looking for a summer setup, something to get you into backpacking, and you're likely going to be going in warmer weather, maybe it's a warmer climate in the desert or something like that, more in the south or, you know, Arizona or something, this setup is going to get you out there. And so you can go with the lower R value Klymit sleeping pad. You can go with the 30-degree Marmot Trestles Elite Eco 30-degree bag, and then this tent, and that's going to get you to, I believe it's $298, just over that 6 pound mark. For that price point, I mean, that's going to be a really great way to get into backpacking, or, you know, get you an extra setup that you can loan out to friends or whatever the case is. Like I said, I've used this setup for several years now, and I've been very happy with this. And on these, the quality to price ratio that you're getting here is huge. You're getting really good quality stuff that has held up for years for very cheap prices. And if you try to buy things at this cheap of a price, you can be in danger of buying things that are not going to hold up, and that, you know, you might get 1, maybe 2 seasons out of the use out of it. But I can attest that these have definitely stood the test of time. Invest in these and get several years or more out of use out of them. All right, so let me know if there's something that you would swap out in this trio that's more lightweight or cheaper that you still think is quality. Let me know in the comments what you would add or take away from this trio. All right, if you want to check those other videos out I made on these products, you can check those out here. If you made it this far, please give me a like, help this get out to more people. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, you got this, Dad.